Hi, Laura.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? So good to
I'm very
see you.
well. I know it's really cold here today, so I'm all rugged up. Got the little one at daycare and yeah, excited to have a chat with you. It's been a long time since I've spoken.
It is. I feel so bad about it. And like for those of you who don't know, Laura and I are actually friends in real life, and we haven't seen each other. I don't know, maybe for like a year or so. I want to
I
say.
know, life
Life.
is busy, especially add a little one to the mix, hey?
Yeah, especially for you. So I want to tell you, first of all, I'm absolutely amazed by how you've embraced your motherhood and your business side, and you just connected them together. And I'm watching your Instagram videos literally every day religiously. And tell everyone a little bit more about yourself. How old is your little one now? How long ago did you go back into business, and how has it all been for you?
Yeah, gosh, it seems like only yesterday and yet years and years ago that my little boy Reef came into the world. Sorry, my dog is just chewing on something that's really loud. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
This is mother life, like balls everywhere. So yeah, Reef was born in March 21. So he is 15 months almost to the day. And it's been a bit of a whirlwind. I took a good 6-7 months off work completely before coming back sort of part-time, and then we started a couple of days of daycare when he was 10 months old, and then we increased from 2 days a week to 3 days a week to now we're doing 4 days a week daycare. So I feel like I am sort of back into the swing of things now. It's definitely been an adjustment, as you go through all those big milestones. But I do remember before I had him thinking, oh, when the baby's sleeping, I'll just have him in the bassinet and I'll be working after 2 months, which obviously didn't happen for me. We had a bit of a rough start with all the things that were like non really serious, but they just made those first 4 to 5 months really difficult. Reflux, tongue ties, feeding issues, just a very, very unsettled baby and sleep deprived parents. So yeah, working was definitely something that got pushed right back until we had a bit more of a flow and I was getting a bit more rest and could use my brain again, because you need to have a functioning brain if you're going to be writing creative copy for clients.
Yeah, that's this sort of work you really need to use your brain for, right?
Yeah, you can't sort of just log in for the day and do you can do admin, but you sort of, I definitely compare it to sort of some jobs that I have had in the past where I could do some more like mundane things just to get through. But it is but bit of a different story when you have to use your creative brain and sort of be in the zone, and you have to be well rested and sort of get yourself back to a place where you feel confident as well in your abilities, because it is a massive change in identity and just a whole life change really. but you get through it and you sort of just adapt to a new way of working. So here we are.
And you're doing awesome. At what stage did you start getting back into your work routine? Was it when you started daycare or later, or
probably a little bit earlier. So we are very lucky to have both my parents are in Katikati, so that's only 45 minutes away, and my husband's parents live locally in Tauranga. So we were very lucky to have family support. So even though before we started daycare, my little one was still having some time with his grandparents every week, which would just give me, a couple of hours to follow up on some emails and do some proposals or write some blogs or whatever, just sort of small pieces that weren't super intensive. So that was really cool. So I think, and during naps, of course, I got quite used to cramming an hour's work in here, there and everywhere. I've never been a person that could work at night. I'm like an early bird, like to work in the morning, but come 5 o'clock, my brain sort of switches off for the day. So I know that a lot of parents do sort of work in the evenings, and that's just been something that I just don't want to do or can do. I can't do it very well. So yeah, lucky to have that family support. So I think from about 6 months, I was back doing really small sort of part-time hours, maybe the equivalent of like a day's work a week or something. And of course, in weekends as well, you just sort of need to make it work when you've got, daddy duties or, family support as well. But daycare was definitely a game changer for us when we started. It just gave me that, it's like a continual, every week from Tuesday to Wednesday, I knew he was there, and it just helps you plan things, because when you're trying to plan Zoom meetings and all that sort of thing, it's quite difficult when you're banking on your baby sleeping, because it's always the day that you've got something on that he won't sleep, and then you have to change the meeting. And yeah.
Were your clients understanding, because you had an established business before you became a mom, and you took quite a long pause, and you're in that industry that doesn't allow any pauses actually, so it's a go all the time. So did you lose any clients? Were they understanding?
A lot of my clients that I work with, because of the nature of the work I do, which is mainly sort of like branding and website copy and email copy, it's sort of setting them up with this website that's ready to launch, and then they launch it. We often work together down the track, making additional email flows for like the automated emails that get sent to customers, or bits and pieces. But I guess the nature of the work I do is more a large project, and then we move on. So I don't often have retainer clients where I work with them every month. I've got a couple that I do sort of monthly email work and things like that, but a lot of them are just big project, then move on. So it did help me plan before I gave birth, that I could finish on this date, and then I could take, well, as I said, I thought I'd take maybe 3 months off, but it ended up taking a bit longer. But everyone was very understanding. I did create a wait list before I went on maternity leave, and I didn't give any concrete sort of date of when I'd be back, which in hindsight was a really good thing to do, because it sort of managed expectations. And I think too, the lucky thing about the industries that I work with, a lot of creative people, most of them are women, and a lot of them are mothers. So, I just found it really easy to say to them, hey, I know we were looking at working together in June or whatever, but I need another couple of months. And everyone was just, yeah, of course, like they totally understood. And if someone was time bound because they needed to launch a website on a certain date or something, that's when I would just recommend them a different writer, and they could work with somebody else, and that's fine. But the Instagram thing, that's like Instagram and Facebook, or whatever channels you use. I mainly use Instagram and email. So my email list is something that I've been trying to nurture, but I'm quite time poor at the moment, so it's definitely gone down to the bottom of the list a little bit. But I found that trying to keep up with that was quite stressful in the beginning, and you do see, all the other people in your field doing these amazing things and posting reels and all this fun content. And at the time, I just knew that I couldn't really keep up, and I think it was sort of nice to actually just give yourself that permission to step back for a little bit. I didn't find that when I came back, I sort of had to start again or anything. I was quite lucky to have, still quite an engaged audience and people that I've worked with in the past. So I didn't find it too bad. I think being consistent up until you go on maternity leave really helps. And then, you don't need to be posting like every single week or every single day or anything, but I guess I did manage to do the odd post, and I would share stories of, my little one. And it's obviously great content when you've got a cute baby, like why not share that?
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I was gonna ask you about. I know that there are quite two polar opposite opinions about showing your kids on Instagram. So some parents prefer to hide kids, to wait till they're grown up and give their consent, so to say. But other parents like yourself, they just, this is me, this is my family, this is mom, and I'm a mom, and he's a part of my life. So did you have to think about that before deciding whether you want to put your son on social media or not? Or was it like organically happening for you?
It's not something that I probably thought about too much, to be honest. I've always been, you know, when it comes to like my Instagram content and stuff, like I don't consider myself an expert at like making all this beautiful stuff. I just show up as me, and this is, you know, this is what I do. This is, yeah, my family, I suppose. My dog Tiki has always been a really big part of my Instagram. You know, he's always with me on the beach, and when Reef came along, it sort of just seemed like a nice natural progression to have him there as well. I totally respect and understand people that don't want to show their kids, and there's definitely sometimes, you know, there are things that I definitely don't share, and I think possibly as time's gone on, I share less and less of him on my stories and things like that, although some people might say otherwise, but you know, how much is too much? It's up to the parent to decide, I suppose. And I mean, it's always a highlight reel too. I mean, sometimes I might share a cute photo of him sitting on the beach, you know, with digging his toes in the sand, but I don't share the photo of him having a tantrum, like naked on the ground, you know, like it's choosing the moments. And yeah, he is a big part of my life, so I feel quite comfortable with sharing some parts of him with the world, and people relate to that, because as I said, like a lot of my clients are mums, and when I do share something about him or our journey, you know, a lot of people do respond to me, and we'll have a chat and we share stories, and yeah, it's sort of a nice way of connecting with my community, I suppose. Yeah.
What was the biggest change for you in the way you work, in the way you have to approach your daily schedule after you became mom and businesswoman?
I think probably just the change in freedom was a really big adjustment. So, I mean, I know how busy I am now, and then I would laugh thinking, oh, I used to think I was so busy, and then if I have another child, I'll probably laugh at me now saying I'm so busy. But it's, you know, it's all relative, and it's what you're used to. So I think, yeah, realizing that I don't now have the freedom to do what I want when I want, and in terms of work as well. Like I would quite enjoy being a routine person before I had a baby. I would, you know, get up, go to the gym, or go for a walk on the beach with Tiki, come home, we'd, you know, do a couple of hours work in the morning, maybe go meet a client for a coffee, come back, and, you know, everything would be quite planned out. And I knew that I could stay on top of my tasks because I was ticking things off. Whereas now, I mean, it's a little bit different now. I'm in daycare 4 days a week. I do have a bit more of that sort of routine back in place. But yeah, for the first year or so, that routine is just, it's a bit messy, you know, and you have to sort of let go of the control and embrace that it's not always going to be something that you can control, especially with sickness. And babies are always sick. That's what I've discovered after starting daycare. Like we've had every sickness under the sun in the last 6 months. And it's always on a day when I've got like an important call with someone at work, or it's just the nature of the beast. So yeah, that's been a big sort of shock to the system, but it's also taught me to become more efficient with the time I do have. So now that I know when he's at daycare and he's there, he's happy, he's not sick, I know I've got 8 hours to smash out some work, and I procrastinate less, I think, which has been maybe a nice side effect. Sometimes.
Did you ever experience some guilt over not working enough, or maybe vice versa, not spending enough time with your family? Maybe especially at the beginning when you didn't have that balance figured out yet.
Yeah, absolutely. That the mum guilt is so real, and I experience it all the time. Even just in the last couple of weeks, we were deciding whether to add another day of daycare. So it would be 3 days to 4 days. And that decision was really tough for me because it meant that he would be at daycare more than he would be at home, like 3 days at home, 4 days at daycare. And that, you know, that was really hard for me to get my head around. And I did feel really guilty. But I guess it's reframing that to look at it in a positive light, because I know that work makes me happy. You know, it actually fills my cup. I really enjoy working in my business and working with my clients and doing my creative work. So I know that if I can spend 4 days doing my work, I know I'm going to be less stressed because I've got more time to get things done. I've also got more time to organize my life. I can cook dinner before he gets home. I can go to the supermarket. I can sort of do all that admin, so that when he is with me, I'm less trying to do both things at once, if that makes sense. Because for a long time I would be, you know, having a day at home with Reef and would be playing and doing things. And then as soon as he'd get in bed for his nap, I would jump on my computer and try and, you know, work as vigorously as I could for 2 hours. And then I'd be stressed because I couldn't finish my work. And yeah, so I think trying to do sort of both things at once is really tricky. Now I feel like the balance, it feels better. I can work when I'm at work and I can be with him when I'm with him. So that sort of helped the guilt feelings. But and then on the other side of the coin is, I guess, the guilt about not working enough. Like that was definitely something I felt in those first, you know, 6 months when, you know, maternity leave runs out at 6 months and, you know, we've still got to pay the bills, we've got a mortgage to pay. So that guilt of like needing to work, but also, you know, I wasn't in a place like mentally, physically to do good work. So it was a bit of a struggle for a few months there, just finding the new groove and getting feeling healthy again, I suppose. Like sleep deprivation is a very, very intense thing to go through. And, you know, Reef only started sleeping through the night when he was about 1. And even then, you know, he doesn't sleep through every night. Sometimes we have terrible nights where he's up for hours and then I've got to work the next day. And I just think, I look around and see all these other parents doing it and I'm like, oh my God, you're dealing with this as well and you're functioning. Like, wow. Yeah, it's quite inspiring actually to look around and see the other parents doing, you know, juggling business and parenthood.
Yeah. It probably always looks better, you know, grass is always greener on the other side, right? Everyone looks perfect on social media, and when you don't know the inside struggles of every family. So if you are dealing with that, I'm pretty sure everyone else is dealing with this, exactly the same problems: sick kids, not enough time, too much time. And yeah,
totally. And I think that is that downside of social media, with especially in regards to becoming a mum, because you see all these perfectly curated feeds with you know, baby food that's all beautiful, and I don't know, these kids wearing these amazing clothes and doing all this fun stuff, but yeah, you don't see all the stuff that goes behind the scenes. And actually, you know, from the conversations I've had with other mums with children around the same age, like we've all experienced similar challenges, but you know, no one's posting really about them on Instagram. So, you know, before you become a mother, I think it's important to chat to people who have gone through it and get a bit of a holistic view, because, you know, as we all know, social media is the highlight reel. So yeah, it's important to not get too caught up with thinking everyone else is perfect or doing it well, because we are all winging it, you know.
And where do you recommend to start, maybe for those who haven't yet figured out this balance between the family life and the business life? How did you do that? Did you sit down with a piece of paper and structured your day, or did you, like, where do you start to really make this work?
I think communicating with, you know, your partner, if you have a partner, or your family, whoever is supporting you with this child, that's the first place to start, I think, is having really open communication about what you both need to, like, feel good as a person and also in your job. I'm really lucky to have a amazing supportive husband that works at home quite a lot. So lucky in those first, you know, 6 to 8 months when we did have quite a few you know, challenging days with an upset baby. He would come home and I would just say, here you go, like, have the baby for an hour so I can just go have a shower and things like that. So I think, yeah, communicating about that is really important. But then in terms of organizing, yeah, just becoming like the most organized version of yourself. There's just no other way around it. Like, I think writing everything down, for me, I have these big whiteboards in my office, and I write down, I've got my whole month set out with all of my client work that's, locked in, that's pending, everything's written down. I also have another whiteboard with the next 4 weeks written down with all of my appointments, my due dates for work, for deadlines, doctor's appointments, everything is just written down. I know a lot of people use like sort of online tools. There's heaps of apps and things like that. But for me, I really like hard copy, like pen and paper or whiteboard has been my most helpful organization tool, and it's super basic.
And do you have any examples of something that maybe didn't work for you, like online apps, or you were quite confident that, hey, this is how I should be working now on, and then you realize that it's actually completely opposite? Some maybe failed attempts at something.
Yeah, I've tried a few different services that I was offering post baby. I realized were no longer really working for me. So as a copywriter, I offer various services, whether it's a full website or email copy, things like that. And branding is a part of that, helping someone figure out who they are as a brand, what their voice is, what their personality is, etc. And there was a service that I was selling quite a lot of called a brand ID. And that was essentially like a brand strategy. It went into all the details about your target audience and your mission and your USP, what makes you special, all that sort of stuff. And I actually realized after coming back after a baby and doing this service that I actually no longer enjoyed half of what that offer sort of entailed. And I really just enjoyed focusing on brand voice and personality. And from that, I've actually relaunched my website, changed a whole bunch of my services, and sort of changed my offer to fit with what I enjoy. So I think, yeah, having a baby makes you, I don't know, it's made me a little bit more cutthroat with, okay, I don't enjoy that. No, I'm going to change it. I do enjoy this. Let's make this happen, which has sort of been a nice, a nice thing, because I'm quite indecisive, usually. Especially when you work by yourself, you sort of sit there. Oh, what do you think? Oh, what do you think? Oh, cool. Yeah, awesome.
I'll chat to my team. Hi, my team.
Tricky. But I've lots of things that I've tried and haven't worked too. Trialing different sorts of services, or I guess working with people in different ways. You have to it's a bit of trial and error, really, to see what you enjoy and what you don't. Also planning in the early days, I would sort of, as I said, like I would plan Zoom calls around naps, and then always on that day, the naps wouldn't happen. It would be so stressful trying to change everything. So yeah, after a few months of trying to work that way, I realized that's just not sustainable, and that's very stressful for me, and it's not giving my clients a good experience because I'm always having to push them back. So that was, I guess, where the decision to start daycare came in. Yeah. So I think you just have to, roll with it and learn as you go.
Yeah. And how do you measure your success? I mean, when you're working less hours because you have a baby, obviously it impacts the financial side. So you're earning less. Yeah. And I think it makes you think that maybe I'm not doing enough, maybe I'm not successful enough. How do you deal with those thoughts, and how do you measure your success?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that has been something that I've struggled with, because when I got pregnant, that was probably my best year in business. And, you get used to sort of earning good money and living a certain lifestyle. So then taking a back seat and no longer earning that much is something to, think about, like, is that how I define success? But now that I'm working, and now that I feel like I've got the balance right of working and mum life, I really feel like that peace of mind is much more valuable than earning X amount of dollars. As long as I can pay the mortgage and, I feel like I'm getting paid well for the service that I offer and the value that I deliver, that's one thing tick. great. But I think it's, definitely more important for me to feel like I'm enjoying being a mom. Like I didn't really have a kid to put him into daycare, 5 days a week and then have grandparents look after him Saturday, Sunday. Like I do want to spend time with him as well. And I'm very fortunate to be in a position where I can have a day in the week with him that I don't have to work. So yeah, I think it's definitely, it does make you think about what is success to me. And I've been burnt out many times, before and spent many weekends and long nights working. And I don't want to do that anymore because it doesn't actually serve me or my family or my clients, because they're not getting the best sort of results from their work way. So yeah, I think it's a big perspective shift. It makes you think, okay, what do I need to do to live a life that is like gonna pay the mortgage but also make me happy?
Yeah. So you can say that your priorities changed and the way you look at life changed since becoming a mom, right?
Yeah, totally. It brings out this whole different side of you. Like I'm definitely not a person that is very confident with like confrontation and those awkward times where you have to like be hard on someone. Like I that's just not me. I'm much more of a lover, not a fighter. But since having Reef and this like mama bear instinct sort of switches on, which I didn't realize was going to happen. You just don't really know how you're going to feel after you have a baby. But that was pretty strong for me. And I think it's carried through into my work life now, that when I'm dealing with maybe a client or an agency or a third party that's being a little bit difficult or hard to communicate with, I'm much more direct than what I used to be and less apologetic, which I'm enjoying, Yeah. It makes you feel good, and you do get a better response. You're just there to do your job and get things done. And I think it's sort of given me a bit more confidence to, I guess, speak up and just don't have really time for bullshit anymore,
Totally. It's actually really amazing because I have noticed that my sister has 3 kids, and I have noticed that with her as well, that they can be tiny, they can even not be talking yet, but they are already teaching you something, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So much. What did you take from being a mom and being the mom to this specific little human into your business? What lessons?
I guess besides the mama bear instinct, I think it's actually accepting, opening my eyes to people and different personalities and all of that, because I've noticing with my little boy, he's definitely on the more sensitive side. He's quite shy. When I'm with groups of mum friends and their kids are all running off to the playground and like laughing and going off and having fun, like Reef is very like mama's boy, he doesn't really want to leave my side. And I used to think, oh, is this normal? Like, is there something wrong with him? Like, is he okay? But now I've just accepted that that's just a part of his personality, and that's okay. And just sort of, I guess, watching him grow and stuff. I don't know how that sort of brings it into the business world, but it's given me a little bit more insight into different people and how they work.
Yes. And that everyone expresses themselves differently, maybe, and
and it's probably just trying not to like judge a book by its cover. I suppose that's helped me a little bit, because I know that he's this ball of energy and he's crazy and he's confident in certain situations, but in some situations he's very, very shy and he cries a lot, and I'm like, oh, but people don't see the real you, that sort of thing. So I don't know, I guess it has made me realize, we've all got this sort of, facade that, we've also got different parts of our personality. So that, I think that's quite important to keep in mind, especially when you're dealing with like social media and all of that. But yeah, the other thing is, I guess, knowing when to pick your battles, and especially now that he's a toddler and the tantrums are there, and like if he doesn't get the right color sock on, he will like lay on the ground and scream. And that's that's okay. Like knowing when to pick your battles with things has been quite helpful with my client work as well. I think I'm about 5 years into my business almost now, so I don't experience this as much as I used to, but definitely at the start I would work with a whole range of people because you sort of said yes to whoever. It was a bit more just trying to get the work rolling in, and then you would come up against people that had different ideas or they weren't happy with something that you've done. And I do experience that much less now because I'm working with more people that align with like my style and all of that. But every now and then you'll get some feedback from someone saying, oh, I just don't like this part that you've done, and I don't know why, but I just don't like it. And I can explain till the cows come home why it works and why I've chosen it based on all the research and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, if they don't like it, it's my job to make them happy. So I pick my battles with that now as well. It's choosing when to push back and when to sort of just go, okay, well, you want it done this way, so let's make it work your way. Yeah.
I think you've actually touched a very important problem that a lot of entrepreneurs at the beginning of their journey face, not being able to say no, even if you have a feeling that it won't align with your vision and with your business. Maybe you can give some tips on how to not be afraid to say no and to lose money, and also how to figure out, will this client really work? Are you on the same page? How do you do that?
Oh, that is such an important part, and that's been a big part of my whole journey from year to year. And I can confidently say now that I probably only get like one client a year that surprises me, that goes, oh my God, I thought you were going to be sweet, but you're crazy. Most of them are great. We're on the same page. But definitely at the start, because, you're a freelancer, you need work. I'll say yes to anyone. Like that's where all the problems come from. So I think if you're in a position to say no and vet your clients, it's a really good practice to start getting into early on. So I guess the way I do it is, someone will make an inquiry with me, usually via email or Instagram, and I will have a good stalk of their social media pages, of their website, of everything, just to make sure that firstly, that I'm actually interested in the product or service that they're selling, because I actually don't want to write about something that doesn't interest me, because that way I'm not going to write the best copy for them. They need to have someone that actually is interested in the industry. So that's the first thing I check. Am I interested in this client? Cool. If I am, it's assessing like their voice and their personality and their content. I'll be able to see pretty quickly sort of where they can improve and what value I might be able to add to them. I've also added to my website inquiry now a few different questions that help with the initial inquiry process. So I've added things like, can tell me why you've chosen me? Why do you want me to help you? I want someone that wants me specifically. I don't want them to just want a copywriter for the lowest price, because that way, we're not on the same vibe already. Usually they come from referrals from clients, which is awesome. But so that question has really helped. I've also asked a question in there about like budget, like what is your approximate budget? Not so I can like upsell you on 1,000 different things, but so we can make sure that we're on the same ballpark before I jump on a Zoom call. Because to give a half an hour or hour of your time on a Zoom call is super valuable. And if it's with the wrong person, it's just a waste of time. And that's before you get to like the proposal stage, which could also then take hours. So I've spent over the years, so many hours on Zoom calls and making proposals for a client that isn't the right fit, where I think vetting them up front is really key. So yeah, looking at all their marketing materials is important. If you feel like you're aligned and you're on the same page, jumping on that Zoom call is really a good step. And I think the red flags are pretty obvious when you talk to someone face to face. It's their body language, like the way they talk to you. Are they open to asking you questions and receiving your answers as like an expert opinion? A big red flag for me is when someone says, oh, I could do it myself, but I just don't have time. Or, oh, I could do it myself, but no, I just want you to do it. Like I think if you think you can do it yourself, then
Better
you
do
don't
it.
want, yeah, you don't want to pay me to do it because you're not
Yeah.
going to be happy because you can do it yourself. That's as personally for me, that's a massive red flag. Yeah, what else is there? Loads of different things. I think you just get a vibe from someone. When someone talks over you and doesn't let you finish, and you know, are they rude on the phone? Like, obviously that's a big no. But yeah, I think if they're open-minded, they are also coming to you for advice on the strategy. So when someone comes to me and they say, I want a welcome email sequence, I want it to say this, and then the second email to say this, and the third email to say this, that's not an immediate no from me, but it does make me think, are you going to be open to like me giving you strategy? Because sort of that's what you're paying me for. It's actually my years of experience in what I do. It's not just the words I can write for you. So yeah, I prefer it if someone is a bit more, hey, I'm thinking of this. Like, what do you think? I would love your guidance. Like that's what I want from you, the guidance and collaboration. Yeah, so I think if those red flags are popping up in that first chat, if you're in a position to turn down the work or pass it, you know, it's probably the best thing to do, because I guarantee that if you say yes to a job that you're not vibing, another amazing opportunity is going to come around the next week and you're going to have to say no to it because you've already given that time to someone else. And that's happened to me so many times over the years. So I've definitely learned from those experiences. And it is always the people that you see the red flags at the start that end up being really difficult and, you know, changing their mind on something or not taking weeks to get back to you. And yeah, I mean, we have terms and conditions in place for a reason and contracts and things like that. But, you know, when you're working with a small business one-to-one, you don't want to be that person that's like, no, you didn't get back to me on Friday, so you must pay me and then I'm never seeing you again. Goodbye. Like, you know, we try to be flexible, but yeah, it's tricky. And you need to, I think you do your best work when you're working with people that like you're on the same vision, you're excited about it. Yeah, but I think it does take time as well. So like if you're at the start of your journey with your business, there's nothing wrong with saying yes to most of the jobs that come along, because you will learn from every experience. You'll learn something. And yeah, so maybe I don't actually regret working with some of these like horror clients at the start, because they taught me to have good terms and conditions in place, the first one. You know, little things like that. And yeah, it's all a bit of a journey and you learn as you go. So yeah, I think having a process in place is good. To otherwise if you're just sort of winging it without any sort of tick boxes in your own head or written down, you know, whatever works for you, then you can find yourself in a position working with someone that isn't really going to light you up.
Yeah. And also, what about the added stress of working in a highly competitive industry? Because with copywriting, I'm sure you're familiar with this feeling that, oh, there are so many copywriters already, what can I offer? Or someone who might be starting out as a nutritionist or a health coach or business, any business really, everything is a highly competitive industry these days. How do you deal with this feeling of not being able to offer something unique and new to the industry?
Yeah, and those feelings are really real. And I think I experienced them more when I was on maternity leave, because I wasn't actively making my own content or like working with people. All I was doing was sitting back watching, which I think makes those feelings more intense.
Yeah.
But as you said, like every industry is competitive. You're not going to just be like, hello, it's me, everyone wants my work. And no, you know, there's always going to be competition. But I think having a mindset, and this sounds a bit like woo woo, but the mindset thing is huge. Like having a mindset that there is enough for everyone is really important, and having a community over competition sort of mindset is important too. Like I am really good friends with all the local copywriters in Tauranga. Like we meet up for coffee and we are almost like colleagues. So we catch up and we talk about, oh, how are you managing this situation? Or, oh, how did you come up with this idea? Like it's really, really cool to turn your competition into like a source of support, because yes, you might offer the same service, but it's not exactly the same skill set that you're offering. Like I mean, we all write copy, but you know, one of us writes humor copy, one of us writes this sorts of copy, one of us is really amazing at SEO. Like we all have different skill sets and different price points and different people that we work with. So I think it's really just taking yourself out of that scarcity mindset and realizing there's actually enough to go around, because oh my God, there is so much to go around. You look at every business that needs copy, like copy is the words that you use to sell your business. You've got website, emails, social media, like packaging. There is, you know, every business needs copy. So that's what I try and remind myself. And every business needs copy, and every business, you know, could be a potential customer if they were a good fit. So yeah, I think working on mindset is a really important thing, and turning your competition into a source of support. That would be my biggest tip, I suppose. Yeah.
I remember a few years ago when you were just starting out, and I was always amazed by how you were describing your work process, how you were saying, oh, this is not what I want to do, so I have this agency who will do this better. I can outsource this to a friend. And you were just building this community around yourself. And I'm actually the same myself. I can say when I teach people about social media, I always say, like, the first advice would be befriend your competitors, because this is where you learn, this is where you grow together and you grow your industry. But I think for a lot of people, because it's quite a new perspective, I would say, befriend your competitors, right? Yeah. We were always taught that you have to be better than them, to compete with them. So
don't let them know anything. Don't give away your secrets. That sort of thing.
Yes. So be close. But I think it's really amazing how positive everything becomes when you look at people in your industry as your friends, not as your competitors, right? It maybe even helps psychologically. You are not so stressed out by seeing if someone does something that you didn't come up with first. Instead of thinking of yourself as a failure, you learn from them, right?
Yeah, totally. I think it inspires you to be like, oh, they've just done this really out the box thing. Like maybe I could do that. But it's managing the way you're looking at them, rather than getting stressed out that you haven't done it first. As you said, it's sort of taking that as, okay, they've just done something like that. Now it's time for me to actually put time aside every week to like think about how I can grow my own business. I think that's something that I've learned from my competitors, like I see them sort of putting time aside to have like CEO days, or, time to work on their business, not just in their business. And up until now, I actually have really, really struggled to work on my business. I've always just been chasing my tail with client work. But yeah, having time aside to actually work on your strategy and on your own content is so key. And, there's so many things that you can do. You're in an industry that does a certain service, for example, but there are no like rules to what you can offer, or how can you make something different. So for example, like I've just launched a new service, which is called VIP days. So it's essentially a copywriting day rate. And a lot of creatives offer a day rate. A client books you for 8 hours. And when I was coming up with how I wanted the service to look, I did look around at lots of different copywriters in Australia, in the States, in New Zealand, how they were offering their day rates. And, a lot of people sort of do it as a day. So they book you work for 8 hours or 7 hours, you give the copy over, see ya, to the client. And that just made me like so anxious, because I can't write for 7 hours. Like my brain would explode. So I sort of took the idea, but then I just developed it into a way that would suit my way of working. So I actually work my VIP days as sort of almost like a 3-day booking. So they book me. We have a Zoom call on the first day. I work for 4 hours. On the second day, I work for 4 hours. And then on the third day, I give it one last look over and send it over. So that way my brain is fresh. I'm not stressing about trying to get everything done in one day, because, ideas come to me like late at night in the shower or in the middle of the night, wake up and write something down. So I guess that's an example of how you can, take something that other people are doing and seeing that it's successful and making it work for you in your business and the way that you know that you work best, because we're not all wired the same way.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's also being not wired the same is a problem for many people, because when you see your competitors or someone who started in the industry earlier doing something that you are not offering, you sometimes feel like your service is not complete, whereas this might be not your strongest point. And instead of like branching out because everyone is doing it, maybe you have to niche down. So how, for you, how do you figure out, is this something you really should be doing, or is this something that others are telling you you should be doing? Where is this?
I honestly think a bit of trial and error is the best way to figure out, because yes, something needs to be lucrative, you need to be able to make money from it, but the biggest part is you need to enjoy it, because why are you in business if you're doing something you don't enjoy? So I honestly, over the last few years, I've added and removed a whole bunch of services because, you know, I saw people in my industry offering them. I thought, oh, that looks really cool. Like, let's give that a go. And I did give it a go and I hated it. So I took it off. One example would be a year or two ago, I started offering website audits. So it's more of a low cost way to start working with me rather than investing in a whole website. I think I charged maybe $700 or something like that. And I would take their website, give a whole bunch of notes and strategies and ideas for improving it with video and all of that, and then give it back to them. But I actually found that to be so intensive on my brain, definitely was so much more value than $700. And I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy the process as much. And after a couple of those, I just thought, why am I offering this? Because I feel like I have to, or because I feel like I can book them because people want them, but I don't want to do them. So I honestly think until you give something a go, you probably won't know if you like it or not. So there's nothing wrong with trialing something new, and nothing wrong with involving your audience too. Like that's what Instagram is amazing for. Like I actually did a little poll the other week just saying, like, what do you sell? Services, products, you know, tell me more about you, because I had a hunch that most of my followers were like service based, but you know, you don't know these things until you ask. So yeah, I think it's really, really cool to involve the people that you are looking to serve when you're coming up with an offer.
And I think it's okay to always remember that it's okay to change. You know, you might like something one day and you might hate it the other day. And if you started your business this way, it shouldn't be this way all the time. You can change in a month or in a year or even in 10 years. That's okay. And I think especially for young moms and who had an established business before, like you did, if you change something afterwards, it's not because you're failing at it. It's because you change as a person and your priorities change, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like, that's just a natural progression of being in business. Like every year that you're in business, you're going to learn more about what your skills are and what you enjoy, and you'll just refine your offering to, you know, to go with that. And especially throwing a baby in the mix, you've got less time to deal with doing things that you don't want to do. Like I know that when I drop him at daycare, I've got 8 hours and I want to just be working on work that makes me excited and working with clients that I love talking to. And just not being afraid to say no to something because it doesn't suit your lifestyle. And honestly, it's funny that the things you enjoy doing and the things you're good at, those are the things that are going to make you good money anyway. So it's sort of like, it makes sense to follow what what lights you up in business.
I think it was such an amazing and positive note to wrap up our conversation right now. Just do what you enjoy and it will bring you money. Isn't it the dream?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time today. Honestly, it was amazing to catch up, and it was amazing to learn more about where you are in your life and your business right now. And I hope I'm sure it will be really informative and inspiring for many young moms who struggle with the same things and who want to succeed both as moms and as businesswomen. So
yeah, thank you. It was really nice to chat. And I think, you know, more conversations need to be had with people that are new to motherhood and parenthood, because it's not all like happy days and roses, you know, like it's a mixture. But I don't think you know, being a mum doesn't need to stop you succeeding in business as well. And that's something that's been really cool to realize, is that I can still be a mum, but I can also be Laura, the, you know, the business person as well. And that's been something that's been really, nice to realize. And it takes a while to sort of find this new identity after you have a baby, because your life is like turned upside down. But yeah, it's cool. So if anyone wants to chat, my DMs are always open on Instagram.
Yes, Tide Studio Instagram account. If someone is not following, I highly suggest that, because it's entertaining regardless of whether you're a mom or not. You're doing such a great job with those videos. Honestly, I love them.
Oh, thank you. We'll try and make some more soon.
Yeah, look forward to that. And thank you so much. And enjoy the rest of your day then.
You too. Bye.
Bye.